Yesterday was our quarterly CHP Summit. Now, for those of you who don't know what that is, every quarter, Cohen Health and Performance, we close both of our locations so that we all can get together, do some combined team bonding, team learning, and we'll give great presentations on a variety of different topics that apply to folks that we work with. And one of those presentations yesterday, as I record this, was by Dr. Matt Anastasia from our McLean facility, and it was on the importance of in-season strength training for athletes, both elite and youth athletes alike. And I wanted to record this video to talk about this today because we are in summer right now. A lot of athletes are competing on their club teams or whatever summer teams they have. Fall season is going to start up before we know it, where other seasons will also start. And a lot of times people think that, well, my athlete should not be training right now because the season's going on and we want to make sure we leave all of the stress for the performance on the field. But that's actually not what the research actually shows, as Dr. Anastasia presented to us yesterday. So some of the things he shared with us is that actually they've done some research and some studies, and 2 to 3 weeks of detraining can result in measurable losses in both strength and power. So not just how much force you can generate, but also how quickly you can generate that force. And that is even more pronounced in youth athletes because they don't have that same level of training experience as those elite athletes. Now, speaking of those elite athletes, those who stopped strength training for just 4 weeks saw their 1 rep max in their bench press go down by 8.9%. So go by 9%. A 9% strength loss is pretty significant, especially when, as we get to the higher levels, a lot of those differences in the winning is in the margins there, and that is a lot more in a margin. Now, as far as in-season strength training goes, what do we need to do to mitigate a lot of these strength losses, these power losses, and avoid losing all of the hard work that we work to gain during the off season? Doesn't mean we have to train to the same frequency as we did when we were in the off season, because ideally 2 sessions a week is plenty to maintain a lot of those gains you made in the off season, and even potentially in some cases to see some improvement. Now, if the schedule is really busy, I know a lot of kids play on multiple different teams, whether it is at the club level combined with maybe what their school is requiring or what have you, even 1 strength training session a week is sufficient to maintain. And now the key with those sessions is they need to compose a lot of compound movements. So things like, your squats, your benches, your deadlifts, those bigger movement patterns that involve multiple joints, multiple body parts. We're not doing a lot of isolation exercises in these cases. And they need to have at least 1 intense set per that exercise. That is something where the amount of effort is above 80% effort of that 1 rep max. And that 1 set can be enough to really sustain a lot of those strength gains. Now, you're not going to see necessarily improvements with that. A lot of the research with improvements means you need at least 9 good sets per body part per week to be able to see continued improvements in season, which is very much possible. But maintenance is very reasonable for any athlete, regardless of how busy their schedule is. It is extremely important because the research shows that you are at a significant risk relative to those who, if you don't strength train in season, relative to those who do, for injuries. I think over double the amount of risk. And also, if an injury does occur, you are back on the field significantly quicker, and basically you're out more than almost double the amount of time, or maybe more, if you are not doing any strength training in season as opposed to those who are not. So, summary, if you are an athlete that is in season, whether you're an adult, whether you're a parent of a youth athlete, they need to be strength training in season, even if it's just once a week. And things to look for: bigger compound movements in training. You don't need a ton of exercises. 4 to 5 exercises in a session is plenty. And make sure there's at least a challenging set per every one of those exercises. And it is really important because it's going to significantly reduce the risk of injury. And if or when an injury does occur, it means you are out a significantly less amount of time. You are the parent of an athlete, or you're an athlete yourself that is currently in season, which it seems like year round. At some level you probably are. Contact us. We would love to be able to show you what an actual well-designed season strength training program looks like, so that this way you can benefit from all the great things that takes with it.